right, boys, so the crafting event has got everybody hyped for the first time in a while in Marvel Future Fight, and rightfully so, because you can craft for free, not one, not two, but 3 CTPs, which is absolutely massive. So I want to give you my thoughts on this crafting event. I want to give you a guide, and I want to give you some general tips that you can do. But essentially, the truth is that you have to grind dispatch. That is, far and away the #1 takeaway that you need to know for this crafting event. You have to farm dispatch. If you don't want to farm dispatch, if you don't want to play dispatch, if you don't want to engage with the game mode, then this event is not for you, pretty much from top to bottom. Now, there's a bunch of rewards that you can pick up completely for free pretty much ahead of time, right before the event even really starts, right here in the bonus missions. So make sure that if you haven't already claimed all of these, and if there's still some of them that you haven't gotten yet, that you try to get as many of these as you can, because they're just a bunch of free rewards that's going to save you a bunch of farming. So that's the first thing here, and it's basically just completing the challenge missions in Dispatch. And if you don't know, the challenge missions are those blue missions where they give you a set of teams to play with. So they'll say things like clear within 2 minutes, clear with 2 or more female characters, clear with 2 or more characters with the strong ability. Now, I'm not going to do a top-to-bottom guide on this because I've done this before multiple times for Dispatch, so you just search up Cynicalex Dispatch on YouTube and you'll find the video with the Doctor Strange where he's tweaking out thumbnail. But just a quick tips here. You don't have to do these all in one shot. So you can do 3 separate runs. One of the run you clear in 2 minutes with your best team. One of them you clear with 2 females and then whatever your best character is. And then another clear you do with 2 or more characters that have the strong ability. And of course, the fastest way to figure that out is to just hit the team up icon, the little Iron Man icon with the pink dot above Moon Girl. And then when you're here, you click the this one, the very first button, that one right there, which is a touchscreen. And then you click all abilities, which is what pops up over there. And oops, not Quasar. You click that, you click all abilities, then you would go strong. Where's strong? The first one. And then you would just be like, okay, I gotta craft a team with these cucks. Okay, that's how you do it. Again, I'm not gonna go with detail by detail, mission by mission, challenge by challenge. Just you figure it out or watch the other video for more information. Some general tips I have for you in terms of getting to higher sectors. Right, you want to do all of these challenges, you want to get them all done, but you also want to get as far as you can. You want to get as close to sector 14 as possible, and the goal in general is to farm sector 14. That is the main goal, or the mango, if you will. First things first, you're going to need at least 1 tier 4. That's a big deal here. I recommend Zombie Strange, not a seasonal uniform, not super expensive, and just absolutely deletes content. Just top to bottom, probably the best character for Dispatch in the game now. He absolutely deletes it. On the other hand, you could do someone like Magneto, also deletes content, but unfortunately, he's more expensive than Doctor Strange, and it's a seasonal uniform, so that is more expensive. The reason why Magneto does so well, on top of having a lot of all defense down with his tier 3 ability, is the fact that, because that's a minus 80 stack on the all defense, is the fact that he increases his damage dealt to humans. So I'm not sure where the line is that increases the damage. There, it's the last line there on his tier 2 skill. Increases basic damage dealt to human characters. And most of the bosses in most of the dispatch sectors are human. There's a couple in, I think, sector 13 and 12 where you have Asgardians who are aliens. But by and large, the enemies at the end are humans, and so Magneto takes a fat dump on them. Some other characters that are good for dispatch include Namor, because he buffs allies with his 5th skill and his tier 3. He's quite nice. Ghost Rider obviously shreds ass because he just does so much damage to villains and he just bursts. Thor has really nice AoE and also does a metric, gigaton of damage. And then Luna Snow is nice, and as are a lot of elemental characters, because they can stack both all defense down and the element that they do down. So, for example, you have here Jean's 3rd skill is reducing fire resistance. So if Jean is reducing fire resistance up to 100%, and then someone else on the team is dealing reducing all defense down, then you're doing a lot of that. In general, for dispatch, reducing all defense down is really good, as is reducing element if you're doing elemental damage. So characters that have high all defense down are also quite nice. You can see Deadpool's 5th skill decreases it up to minus 80%. Very, very strong. So those are the general tips I have for you for constructing teams. But yeah, the basic goal is to get as far as possible in dispatch, complete as many challenges as you can, and then farm Sector 14. The reason why you want to farm Sector 14 is it's the only sector that drops snowmen. The other sectors do not drop. The first 8 sectors, I believe, or the first 7 sectors, only drop the first 7 sectors only drop the snowflake, which looks like a singular snowball, but whatever. And then from 8 to 13, you get the snowballs, and then only 14 has the snowmen. And the snowmen is how you can get the brilliant CTP. And I covered it in my other video, but just to reiterate here, the reason why this is so good, the CTP selector is obviously really good, and you'll be able to get that for sure. But the Mighty and the Brilliant selector are both curated, so they don't feature 4 of the worst CTPs: Regen, Destruction, Transcendence, and Patience. So you have a much higher chance to get a very, very good CTP. You have like more than 50%. For example, I would be very happy with a Conquest. I would be very happy with a Rage. I would be very happy personally with a Judgment or a Greed. So right there, that's already 50%. And I wouldn't be, I really wouldn't be upset. I basically have a 75% chance to get something good because 6 out of the 8 CTPs I think are excellent. I really would only be disappointed with Authority or Energy, which is probably why I'm going to get one, but that's kind of besides the point. The other reason why you want to get to 14 and then focus on 14 is because you can always crunch down, right? You can always dismantle the more valuable rewards from dispatch for crafting into other ones. So for example, every single snowman that you farm from Sector 14, you can turn into 10 of the snowballs. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, but Alex, I can turn 10 snowballs into 1 snowman. Yes, you can, but it's going to take you a lot longer and a lot more energy to farm the snowballs, and turn them into snowmen than the reverse. Now, obviously, if your account isn't built for farming Sector 14, it just isn't built for it, you may have to give up on the Brilliant and set your sights on the Mighty or just the regular CTP. My advice to you, I don't like saying this often, but if you want my honest opinion, if you cannot farm at least Sector 14-1 on auto, you should not go for the Brilliant CTP. Because having to play this manually is going to destroy your faith in humanity. Just to put it into perspective for you guys, okay? I'm going to collect all of these rewards now, and it's going to take a while here. But in total, I believe you get 930 snowmen for the Brilliant CTP specifically from these quests. And again, these quests are I only have these rewards because I was able to go through and do 14. So let's just say you're able to do Sector 14, but you're not able to farm it. You're just able to do it once on manual under very strict conditions. I have 26 of my own, okay? So that's how many I have right now, 26. I'm going to collect all of these, and I'm going to end up with, I believe, 956, because it's 930 plus the 26 that I had. So I should have 956. So I have 956. Great. My math is not bad. My memory is not bad. Now I go and I take 2025, which is the number that I need for the Brilliant, and I minus that. I minus 956 from that. That still leaves me needing to farm over 1,000 snowmen. 1,069 snowmen to be precise. With the event ending in 18 days, if I divide 1,069 by 18, I get an answer of 60. It's 59.4, so it's 60. So I still need, even though I collected all of those rewards, I still need to farm 60 snowmen per day for the next 18 days. And of course, if I farm more snowmen on one day, I can farm less on another. But you can sort of see the weight of that. If you're going to get on average 1 snowman per run of dispatch, that means if you're not playing on auto and you're playing manually, you're going to manually have to play 60 times a day minimum. Now, assuming it takes you 2 minutes to clear on manual, which is 120 seconds, and then you're doing 60 runs of that manually a day, that's 7,200 seconds. Divided by 60, that's 100, it's 2 hours, right? That's 2 hours of non-stop playing, and that's not including loading screens. It's probably closer to 3 hours with loading screens and mistakes and whatever, hang-ups etc. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. So I know it's kind of harsh to say, but if you cannot autoplay at least 14-1, then I think you should just give up in advance on the Brilliant. Now, if you're very, very close to being able to auto 14-1, what can you do to get better? Now, first things first, build up your characters better. In particular, if you're highlighting, if you're sort of trying to build up around one of these characters like Doctor Strange to clear for you, give them as many Odin's Blessings as you can that fit the character. Use a stronger tier 4 striker. I recommend Ghost Rider. Wolverine is also very, very good. Thor is also very, very good. Use one of those strikers. Make sure your ISO 8 set bonus is maxed out. Don't worry too much about the artifact if you don't have it. If you do have it, you don't really need to upgrade it. It's not going to make much of a difference. And then maybe re-roll your CTP if you have one, right? If it's let's say it's a Mighty Rage, but instead of being a 200 in Rage proc, it's only a 160 in Rage proc. You should probably roll it to 200. Also, keep in mind, just a general rule of thumb, if you're using a character to autoplay, but they're not using a Judgment or a Rage, they're going to have a hard time, right? Because procking only really works when you play manually. When you play on auto, procking doesn't work because it's not consistent, because the character rotations are not consistent for so many reasons. So make sure that the character you're choosing to autoplay for Dispatch for this farming session, for the course of this crafting event, either uses a Rage or a Judgment build or a mini Rage Obelisk build, if that is what you're going for. Some other things you can do is improve your cards. If at any point in time you can get your hands on more cards, you can re-roll your cards to get higher quality, closer to 7 quality. If you can craft your cards, or you can re-roll certain crafted stats to get more Pierce, that's super helpful. You're probably going to need at least 10 to 15% Pierce realistically to auto farm this content. And then also improve your swords, right? If you can craft, because they have the new crafting now where you can more easily bulk enchant your swords, craft your swords, try to get a +6 sword or a +5 sword, because that gives you more all attack, right? If you're down here at 25 and you can make a sword that's 27, that's going to give you an extra 3% all attack. That may not seem like enough or a lot, but it is going to matter for things like this Dispatch farming. Make sure you're in a level 30 alliance that's active. Try to use different supports. Maybe use White Fox's lead for increased debuff down, or Enchantress's lead for the same thing to amplify the effect of all defense down debuffs. Try different things. Experiment a little bit if you're very, very close. And hopefully you will get there. Now, some teams that worked for me in general to autoplay, I think this is a very, very strong team. Just 3 powerhouse DPS tier 4s. I think you can also cycle one out for a support if need be. Another team that's good is an all-mutant lineup. So if you use Magneto with Rogue, I know they're both seasonal uniforms, but if you do that and then you pair in Dazzler as a support, this is another very strong team, because both Rogue and Magneto have a ton of AoE damage and they have a lot of burst damage. The last specific tip I have for you for specific teams in Dispatch farming is regarding the Sector 14-5 challenge to clear with 3 Inhumans. This is probably one of the hardest challenges in the game right now for Dispatch, and I was unable to do it on stream using this team with Medusa supporting Black Bolt, and then Thane being essentially the second strongest Inhuman. Now, a couple of things I could have done that I didn't do, just for your sake here. I could have given Thane a Rage build or a Judgment build, since he does elemental damage. I also could have, well, actually I ended up giving Medusa Mighty Rage, but I could have given her an Insight or a Liberation to buff Black Bolt. But yes, the majority of the damage does come from Black Bolt, and what I also could have done is I could have given him a brilliant CTP of Rage build. I was playing this manually. I was, trying my best, but ultimately what got it done for me was none of those things, because I didn't do any of them besides give Medusa a Rage. What did it for me was changing Black Bolt's striker. Yeah, believe it or not, the old adage or the old advice of using Cable Striker, the old Summer Cable, this one right here, actually wasn't working for me. So for any of you out there struggling, almost able to clear this with Black Bolt, rather than looking at a more expensive option like a Brilliant Rage or something else, try switching to Wolverine Striker. He's a very, very good striker, very strong, hits super hard, just like Cable, actually more so than Cable. And he also has excellent tracking on his 5th skill with excellent AoE, so he actually gets a lot more of the mobs. Because what happens in 14-5, you burst down the MODOK Red Skull boss, spoilers, but then the mobs take a long time because they spawn in waves, and you have to clear each wave before the next one spawns. And so using Wolverine, you can actually clear out those mobs faster and I was able to clear it on my very first try using Wolverine Tier 4 Striker for Black Bolt instead of Cable, with time to spare. And I'll attach a screenshot of that so you guys are aware that I am dead serious about this. So yeah, I'm really happy that that tip came through so quickly because I was struggling with that. But that's essentially the advice that I have for you in the crafting event. Try to get to sector 14. If you can't, farm the highest sector that you can farm on auto, and then whatever that ends up being, whether it's snowflakes or snowballs or snowmen, then set your sights on getting that CTP, and then go from there. I think the advanced material chests are not bad either if you end up having leftover materials at the end of the event. I wouldn't open these material chests first because you don't know how much you're going to end up farming and what you're going to need. And obviously the guaranteed CTP is more valuable than these chests. But keep in mind that these chests are not daily limited. They are just crafted count set for the full event. So you can do all of this farming right at the end on the last day, which is very, very good. Not farming, but like opening of these chests at the very end. And they have, you know, a chance to drop tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 materials, which has varying degrees of value for people. But overall, I think, you know, the majority of players can use this in one way or another, whether it's building up black antimatter to build up a native tier 2, native tier 3, whether it's tier 2 materials for Phoenix, you know, X-Men characters to build up or craft for cards, or whether it's possibly getting tier 4 materials for obviously building up tier 4s. I think these are really good, and I love the fact that it's not a daily craft, that it's just a global craft, and I'll definitely be taking advantage of that. But again, after I've tackled the first 3 most important ones, which are the CTP selector, the Mighty CTP, and then of course the Brilliant CTP. For those of you wondering, for the CTP selector, I'm going to be choosing a Liberation because it's so rare, but I would recommend for most players to choose either Rage or Conquest, depending on if you're into PvE or into PvP. Don't choose Liberation just because it's the rarest, unless you are aware of what it does and you are a PvP focused player, because that is the majority of its value. And so I'll leave you with my last piece of advice here. Not piece of advice, but the last note here. I'm going to open up this Mighty CTP. Also keep in mind, because I can see this now, it's 25 million to craft the Mighty and 70 million to craft the Brilliant. Yes, it's a lot of gold, but interestingly enough, you get a lot of gold from Dispatch. So I see people complaining about this. I don't really understand it. Dispatch gives you a ton of gold. So if you don't know this, if you don't know how to optimize Dispatch, I have videos on it. Other content creators have videos on it. The passive teams that you set for Dispatch to farm are really important. Also, farming Dispatch without energy overnight until you hit Dispatch growth score 50, which is right under my camera here. That's also super important to make sure that you can farm the most amount of passive gold every single day. I'm able to farm upwards of 10 million gold a day from Dispatch just by collecting those passive rewards twice a day. Once when I wake up and once before I go to sleep. And that's just Dispatch. So in less than a week, I'm able to generate all of the gold that I need for this crafting event. So if you're not doing that, if you're generating a very low amount of gold from Dispatch, go back and watch those videos, go back and check out that content and figure that out. Here we go with the Mighty, and we get a Mighty Rage. Okay, very cool. Hopefully my luck on the Brilliant is just as good. In the meantime, guys, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck on the crafting event. Smash the like button if you enjoy the content, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.